In this video, we are looking at the vocabulary section of our notebooks. We're looking at the lesson 1.2 vocabulary, and that is going to start here with the word length. There are 5 of these terms, so if you want to pause the video to make your flashcards, please do. You have length, mass, density, volume, and time. Okay. Alrighty. The word length, let's do the pronunciation. Whoops. Not sure what happened there. Hopefully it won't keep happening. Length is a one-syllable word. It only has one vowel, the E, so it can only be one syllable. Length. And our text gives us the definition of length. It is the distance between 2 points. Length is the distance between 2 points. And length is a noun. It's a thing. It's a number that you can calculate. Okay, the next word is mass. One vowel, one syllable. It's saying a, mass. Mass is the amount of matter. Remember Neil Armstrong, in an object. It's not the same thing as weight. Weight depends entirely on the pull of gravity. Mass is how much matter the gravity's pulling on. Okay, so mass and weight are often used interchangeably, but they're not the same thing in a science book. Let's go ahead and add just a little bit here. A bowling ball has more mass. It's more massive than a basketball. Even though they're kind of the same size, the bowling ball has more mass, and therefore gravity's pulling on it more, so it will weigh more. Okay, our text did not give us the definition of density, so I'm going to give us a definition, but let's break this into syllables. We have den, sa, and in this one, the Y is the vowel for us, but we have density. Density. 3 syllables. Density is how tightly packed. You could also use the word compact. How tightly packed matter is and I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to make it too complicated. It's how tightly packed matter is. So for example, and I would go ahead and draw this on your card just so you remember. Let's think about the density of that basketball, and then right beside it, the bowling ball. So inside the basketball, we have air molecules. The basketball's filled with air. Now, remember, with air, that's a gas. So the molecules are moving around. They're not very tightly packed. But in the bowling ball, and I'm going to just try to shorten this a little bit. I'll be here all day trying to draw molecules. In the bowling ball, now it may not be completely solid in the bowling ball, but the molecules in there are more tightly packed together. And you can already see that I'm building that density. And this is probably not going to, let me do it this way. So we're building, the molecules would all be approximately the same size. Bear with me here. I think this is actually worth seeing because it builds into your mind the concept of density. And I didn't mean to delete that. I meant to copy it. So I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to let those molecules keep packing together. And then I'm going to move those molecules into that bowling ball. Do you see the concept that I'm trying to show you of density? The bowling ball is therefore going to weigh more because it has more tightly packed molecules. You get the gist of what I'm doing here. We're building in that density. Okay, so the bowling ball has more density, or we would say a greater density, than something that is filled with air. So if you see that word density on a test, try to remember this picture that I didn't do a good job drawing. Okay, moving on. Volume. Now I'm going to come back to density in just a second, but I need to tell you about volume first. You need to understand the concept of volume. Volume has two syllables. Vol, ume. So that final E is silent. When you have this pattern of a vowel, a consonant, and then an E, a vowel, consonant, E, that E will very often, most often, be silent. Vowel, consonant, E. So volume is the pronunciation. Volume is the amount of space taken up by an object. And let me try to draw you another example. I am not an artist. But let's suppose that we have a can of soda that holds 12 ounces. And then I have another can of soda that holds 20 ounces. Which has the greater volume? Which has soda that takes up more space? Well, this is not a trick question. That would be the 20 ounce. Because the soda in this can takes up more space. That's the volume. And volume is a noun. I forgot to tell you that mass and density are nouns. Okay. And then we have the last term, which is time. Here's that vowel consonant E pattern, so I hear the I, but I do not hear the E. Time. And time is a noun. time is the interval, and remember interval means space, the space between two occurring events and it can be measured by a clock or a stopwatch. Okay. And I've made myself a note here that we need to add some word parts, and that we will do. Let me go ahead and post that next to this next set of flashcards so I don't forget. And let's go to that part of our notebook. It's going to be the word part section. We do have some of these to add. The first one I want to show you is a prefix. It is the prefix dis. And remember, a prefix is added at the beginning of the word. It will not change the spelling of the root. Prefix dis makes an opposite. And I will show you an example. And just for your information, an opposite is also called an antonym. So let's take the root please. If you please someone, what does that mean? How are you making them feel? Happy, right? If they're pleased, they're happy about something. So what if I add the prefix dis? What have I done? I've turned that happiness into anger or unhappiness. Displeased means you're not happy. Another example. Let's use it. These are both verbs, but that's okay. Let's use the word or the root connect. Connect means to put together. Connect one thing to another thing. As soon as I add dis, I've made the opposite. I've turned it into disconnect or unhooking things together. So those are both good examples of the prefix dis. I have a suffix to add. And we've already got one, so let's just come right in here with the next one. And I'm going to write this one in as ment, M-E-N-T. Ment means an action or a state. For example, place, meant, placement. That can be an action, something that I'm doing, making a placement, or it can be a state. So if I'm saying, for example, the placement of the basketball team in the number 1 slot. That's a state. It's a state of being. Placement. Ment is the suffix. Okay, let's look at a root. If you back up to that page, I'm going to give you both metric I'm having serious iPad issues today. I'm getting tired, though. That could play a role. Metric, or also meter. These roots mean to measure or measurement. There's meant that we just used. On the word measure, I'm going to add ment to get measurements. If you see metric or meter, think measurement. And then back to our prefixes. I'm going to give you some that were not in the text, but I still want to add them in here. Let's do them in order, if I can remember. Let's start with kilo. The kilo means 1,000. Hecto, or let's do hecto. Hecto means 100. Deca means 10. Deci means 1/10, or if you write it as a decimal, it's written this way. Centi means 1/100th, or 0.01. And then the last one that I want to give you is milli, which means 1,000th, or 001 as a decimal. So these are math prefixes. I'm not going to do, actually I am. Let's just do an example for all of these. So for kilo, which means 1,000, let's do kilogram. A kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams. A hectogram is equal to 100 grams. A decagram is equal to 10 grams. A decigram, is equal to 1/10 of a gram. Centigram means that I would take the gram and I would cut it into 100 parts. A centigram is 100th of a gram. And a milligram, we get that term in medicine a lot, is 1,000th of a gram. So if I tell you that a large paper clip weighs about 1 gram, if I take 1,000 of those paper clips and put them together, that's approximately the weight of 1 kilogram. If I take that paper clip and I cut it into 1,000 equal parts, one of those parts would be the weight of a milligram. So you see how these prefixes, and I meant to write them in red, but I didn't, so let me highlight them. Prefixes are added at the beginning of a word and do not change the spelling. This is the basis of the metric system. If you know these prefixes, you can do the metric system all day long. This is the backbone of the metric system. Okay. Let me look at my, Sentai was in our reading, but that was the only one. I believe that was all of them. So I think we're done with the vocabulary for this lesson. I'm going to stop this video and I'll see you soon for another one.